Blake Shelton is something of an enigma. On one hand, he was born in rural Oklahoma and earned acclaim for his relatable down-home songs. But on the other, more glitzy hand, he's also very well known as a TV personality and marrying a pop star. It makes a guy wonder, who is the real Blake Shelton? Well, you came to the right place, and I came to the right place. Cause as we'll learn, Blake Shelton has lived many lives. From an Oklahoma Dust Belt kid, to marriages with other A-list stars, loneliness, and hosting The Voice. What is the real story? Let's peel back our surface level understanding of this multifaceted icon and cut right to the hillbilly bone. Where did the man who goes by Blake Shelton come from? What inspired his most classic records? Has Blake ever cheated on any spouses? And is his music really based on a true story? Let's go undercover and find out. But before we get started, remember to smash that thumbs up icon to show support. And subscribe to the channel for more deep dives like this. Let's go find out.
What happened?
Blake Shelton today. Let's begin with the most important thing. What is Blake's life today really like? Well, no doubt you know he is married to Gwen Stefani, who you probably remember from her band No Doubt, or from co-starring with Blake on The Voice. But while Shelton's marriage seems wonderful on camera, let's dig a little deeper. At first glance, Blake getting together with a California pop star like Gwen seems a bit off. Blake is, of course, known for his country roots and lifestyle, and the pair seems a bit too different to work. But that's not how Blake sees it, and there's actually a fascinating story behind their meeting. After his highly publicized marriage to Miranda Lambert crumbled, Blake continued working on The Voice, spending more and more time in California. But as he remembers it, people there didn't seem to understand him. To be fair, not many people can empathize with having a public divorce with another huge star. It seemed like nobody could get what he was going through, and the big star became lonelier and lonelier. But then a miracle happened. One day, he impulsively opened up to his co-host on The Voice, Gwen Stefani. She told him that she'd also gone through a high-profile divorce, and she understood his pain completely. The two began dating, and in 2021, of course, were married. But after his first disastrous divorce, how's it going now? I don't know if he could handle another round of public heartbreak. And supporters of Blake can rejoice because it seems the two, after the wedding in 2021, are living happily together. There is one knot in the relationship, however. Blake, a devoted family man at heart, is ready to settle down and have some little Blakes. But the two have not had a child yet. In fact, some have reported that the two have given up trying. Gwen Stefani has 3 children from her previous marriage. So the two do have their hands full as it is. But how is Blake handling the disappointment? Well, in fact, he actually has a long history of tragedy and heartbreak, only some of which he's been able to use music to cope. So let's dig a bit deeper into these disasters. A tragedy and a promise. For decades upon decades, music has been a way for talented, troubled people to escape their past. Oftentimes, horrible events in their past are the trigger for these drastic changes, morphing Robert Zimmerman to Bob Dylan, and Henry John Deutschendorf Jr. to John Denver. Musicians have always been starting fresh and reinventing themselves. So is this true for Blake as well? Was he always Blake Shelton, and was he always the carefree, take-no-crap superstar he is today? The answer is actually a bit complicated and does center around a horrific tragedy. Blake Shelton's real name is Blake Tollison Shelton. He was lucky enough to have a pretty good country singer name right on his birth certificate. But of course, he was not always the superstar we know and love today. Growing up in rural Oklahoma, Blake's parents were a beauty salon owner and a car salesman. It was expected that he would follow his parents' footsteps into the small business trade, but Blake idolized his older brother Richie, who always encouraged him to think outside the box and keep dreaming. From a young age, Blake knew he could sing his butt off, and he made sure everyone else around him knew too. He began building a small reputation locally, but then something happened that would change his life forever. November 13th, 1990. Blake was just 13 years old. The phone rang and he picked it up and got the horrible news. His brother, his best friend, had just been killed in a horrific car wreck. This shattered the young boy. What was he going to do without his brother? But before long, Blake realized that before passing, his brother had already given him the best gift, encouraging him to take risks. So Blake knew he had to do everything in his power to make his brother proud. And a few years later, right after graduating high school, Blake moved to Nashville and followed his dreams and followed his brother's advice. And Nashville, boy, did they take notice. Today, Blake has a successful career, a loving wife, and enough money to cover Oklahoma. But he's never been able to fully get past his brother's tragic demise. But was that the final heartbreak? Blake Shelton and Miranda Lambert. In 2005, Blake met the first true love of his life at a work event. But the situation was maybe a bit different than your typical office romance. That year, Blake attended the CMT's 100 Greatest Duets concert, and he was assigned to sing a duet with another singer, an attractive young blonde who was rapidly making a name for herself. That name, of course, was Miranda Lambert. The second they began singing together, Blake knew they had some real chemistry, both musically and emotionally. There was just one tiny, huge problem. They were both currently taken. Miranda was currently engaged to another country singer, Jeff Allen McManus. Blake, of course, was already married. So he had a choice. Continue his current comfortable marriage or risk it all for a high-profile celebrity matchup. He knew he and Miranda would never be able to live a normal life, going on dates to Dairy Queen and then playing putt-putt. Their star power would double the media attention for their every move. And of course, he would be breaking his wife's heart. But he knew the chemistry was real and he decided to risk it all. The two of them gave their partners the bad news and shacked up almost immediately. And for a while, things ran smoothly. The pair dated for 5 years and they made great music together. Songs like Over You honored and remembered Blake's late brother Richie. Miranda helped Blake finally grieve. And in 2010, Blake, always a classy country man, he made a big decision and called Miranda's dad and asked for her hand in marriage. The two were wedded soon after, but what could have happened to destroy such a picture-perfect pair? No more honeymoon. The problem started slowly at first. Blake's stature as a celebrity began to grow, and soon he was a mainstream A-lister for sure. And in turn, he was away from home more. And although Miranda was also a very successful star in her own right, she began to feel lonely with Blake gone so much, and things continued to snowball. Blake was then controversially named People's Sexiest Man Alive, helping him take a high-profile gig as a judge on the singing show The Voice. The second accolade became a source of tension for the pair. Blake had to constantly go out to LA to shoot the show, and he bought a nice house there. He did try to convince Miranda to come live with him out there. To him, they could forget about their troubles and live a life of luxury by the sea. But Miranda didn't want a superstar lifestyle. She began to lose faith in Blake, wondering if he really was alone in his big house out in LA, or if someone else was there keeping him company. Both Miranda and Blake thought the other was cheating on them, and things got messy. That magic feeling they had when they played music for the first time was gone, and the two were divorced soon after. So what do you think? Is Blake the kind of guy who would cheat on his wife? Or was Miranda and Blake both being paranoid and difficult? Let me know in the comments. No matter how much you dig, you can never really know what a person is like on the inside. So while we've done our best to find out who the real Blake Shelton is, the real answer is between him and God. Fortunately, you don't have to know what's in the man's soul to really dig his music. So in the meantime, I'm gonna keep digging through the classic records like The Dreamer and Red River Blue. And please get in the comments and tell me your favorite Blake Shelton song. And do you think he and Gwen Stefani are a match made in heaven? Or should he have stayed with Miranda? I look forward to reading your thoughts. If you enjoyed our Blake episode, please smash the thumbs up icon. Subscribe to the channel and come back often so we can keep telling you what happened.